On the guitar neck, there are tons of repeating patterns, and we're going to have a look at some of those today. There's a couple of things I want to point out before we start. So first of all is I'm only going to show you some of these patterns today. So the idea is to show you how this works, and then I'll recommend that you go away and figure some of these things out for yourself, because when you work it out yourself, it always embeds deeper into your brain. Secondly, is we're going to play everything today in the key of G major, or its relative minor, E minor. And thirdly, be aware of the differences in tuning between strings. So for example, if I play on the E and the A string, G, A, C, D, it's a simple repeating pattern. If I play that on the D and the G, it's the same. If I play it on the G and the B, because of the tuning, the pattern, even though it's the same pattern, it will look slightly different because the strings are all tuned to a fourth. For example, E to A is a fourth. However, G to B is a third. So it does mean that everything is played up a semitone higher on the B string. Then it's back to a fourth on the B and the E. Okay, so as I say, we're going to start with the key of G. So let's just look at the notes in the key of G major. So we have G, A, B, C, D, E, and F sharp. And then the pattern starts again. Okay, so again the notes G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp. And then it repeats. So first of all, we're going to look at a repeating pattern with the major scale. So a lot of people know this way of playing the major scale. And this is another common way of playing it. However, there are, within this scale, repeating patterns. And we're going to accomplish this by playing 3 notes on one string and 4 notes on the next string. So I'll show you how that works. So we're going to play on the low E string, G, A, B, which is on fret 3, 5 and 7. Then onto the A string, we're going to play C, D, E, F sharp. Okay, which is on 3, 5, 7 and 9. Now you'll notice here that I slide with my first finger from the 3 to the 5 on the A. Then we're going to repeat exactly the same pattern. We're going to play 5, 7, 9 on the D, onto the G string. I'm going to play 5, slide up to 7, 9, 11. So if you look at that now, we're playing a tone, tone. We're moving across the string onto the A string, and we're playing tone, tone, tone. And that is the pattern. Onto the next G, which is here. Exactly the same pattern. Then I'm going to do the same thing. G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp. Okay, so now we're going to play that through slowly, and you'll see that it's a repeating pattern all the way up. So 3 notes, 4 notes. And then if you want to finish that off, you've got the G there, which is the end of the scale. So again, we're going to play 3, 5, 7, 3, slide up to 5, 7, 9, 5, 7, 9, 5, slide up to 7, 9, 11, 8, 10, 12, 8, 10, 12, 14. And then you do exactly the same on the way back. So 14, 12, 10, 8, 12, 10, 8, 11, 9 7 5, 9 7 5, 9 7 5 3, 7 5 3. So that was the major scale. Does that work for the other modes? So the answer is yes. So now we're going to go to the next note in the major scale, which is the A, and we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to play a 3-note pattern followed by a 4-note pattern. So we're going to play A, B, C on the low E string. Onto the A string, we're going to play D, slide up to the E, F sharp, G. Onto the D string, A, B, C. Onto the G, D, E, F sharp, G. Back onto the B string, we're going to play A, B, C. Then onto the high E string, and we're going to play D, E, F sharp, G. So slowly the whole thing. It would be the same coming backwards. So the pattern here is tone, semitone, move across strings, and then we've got tone, tone, semitone, and that's the pattern. So for each mode, you've got a slightly different pattern. So if we would go to Phrygian mode, etc. Okay. Now you can reverse it. So instead of playing 3 notes and 4 notes, as in 3 notes on the E string, 4 notes on the A, you could play 4 notes on the E string, 3 notes on the A string. So the same as the first pattern in terms of we end up on the same place, but we get there a slightly different way. So I'll show that slowly. So we're going to play 3, 5, 7, 8, 5, 7, 9, 5, 7, 9, 10, 7, 9, 11, 8, 10, 12, 13, 10, 12, 14. And again, if you want to finish it, you can finish it on the G there. And you do it on the same way coming back. Same with the other modes, it works the same way. You can play patterns of 4 and 3 instead of 3 and 4. So you could play A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. Okay, so that is a way of playing scales and modes using a 4-note, 3-note or 3-note, 4-note pattern, and then taking that up the neck. So the next thing for you to do before we move on to pentatonics is to play the rest of the modes in a similar way. So we've started on the G string, the G note. We've started on the A note. So the next thing you want to do is look at the B note, because that's the next note in the scale. And then do the same thing. Then start on the C, the D, the E, and the F sharp, and see if you can figure out all of those 3-note, 4-note patterns or 4-note, 3-note patterns. Now we're going to look at pentatonics. So most people know the minor pentatonic shape, but there are 5 different shapes, one of which is the major pentatonic. Okay, but we're not going to worry about that because we're not going to play that whole pattern. So with a major scale or a mode in the major scale, it's a 7-note pattern. So we've got a 3-note and 4-note combination. On a pentatonic, there's only 5 notes. So we've got a 2-note and a 3-note combination. So here on this major pentatonic, we're going to play this. So very similar, we're going to play some notes picked and one note in each pattern sliding. So we're going to start with 3 and 5 on the bottom string. Then we're going to play 2, 5 on the A. Now normally we would come here for the E, but instead we're going to slide up to the E on the A string, which is on the 7th fret. Okay, then we're going to repeat that exact same pattern, which is 5, 7 on the D, 4, 7 on the G, and slide up to 9. Then moving over onto the B string, we've got 8, 10 on the E string, 7, 10 up to 12. So let's do that whole thing slowly. And backwards. And again, this 2-note, 3-note pattern works on all of the pentatonic shapes. So the next shape would normally be this. But again, we're not going to play that shape, we're going to play this. So again, it's a 2-note, 3-note sliding pattern that repeats. So on the bottom string, we're going to play 5, 7, and then on the A string, we're going to play 5, 7. And we're going to slide up to fret 10. Then we're going to do the same thing on the D, but we're going to play 7, 9, and then 7, 9 on G. And we're going to slide up to 12. Then repeat that pattern on the B and the E string, 10, 12, 10, 12. And slide up to 15. And then coming backwards, exactly the same. Okay, so that's the second position. Again, this works on all of the pentatonic shapes. And what you need to do now is go away and figure out how to play those on the rest of the pentatonic shapes. So the same thing applies to arpeggios. So for example, if we're going to play a G major 7 arpeggio, you can do exactly the same thing. So here we're playing on the bottom string 3 to 7, which is the 1 and the 3. On the A string, fret 5, which is the 5, D. Then onto the D string, we're going to play 4 and slide back up to the G, which is the number 1 of the chord, the root of the chord. Okay, and then you just cascade that up. So again, one more time. So we've got 1, 3, 5, 7, 1, 3, 5, 7, 1, 3, 5, 7, 1. And when I say 1, 3, 5, 7, etc., I'm talking about the notes in the chord, not the frets. So the frets are as follows. On the bottom string, 3, 7, 5 of the A, and then 4, 5 of the D, 7 of the D, 9 of the D, then 7 of the G, 7 of the B, 8 of the B up to 12 of the B. Then we have 10 of the high E up to 14 of the high E. And we finish on the 15 of the high E. And it would be the same on the way back down. So for a minor arpeggio, again we're going to do a minor 7 arpeggio. So this is how it would look. So we're playing on the bottom string 5 to 8, 7 of the A to 5 of the D. I'm going to slide up to 7 of the D string, which is now the root again. So okay, so on the D we're going to play 7, 10, 9 of the G string to 8 of the B string, slide that up to 10 of the B, 13 of the B, and then 12 of the high E. So slowly. And again, it'll be the same on the way back. So again, as I said earlier, work through the different arpeggios and see if you can find the patterns where you can just move that up the neck following the same pattern over two or three strings. So the next patterns we're going to look at are patterns around chords. So we're going to start off with diminished chords and we're going to look at augmented chords. So here's an F diminished. So the notes here are F, B, D, and G sharp. Now, if we move that up 3 frets, we have these notes: G sharp, D, F, and B, which you'll notice are exactly the same notes but in a different order. So you can play an F diminished there, or you can play an F diminished there. Now what happens if you move it up another 3 frets? We have B, F, G sharp, and D. The same notes again, but in a different order. And if we move it up 3 frets, D, G sharp, B, F. Exactly the same notes, but in a different order. So that chord there is an F diminished, but it's F diminished 7, but it's also a B diminished 7, a D diminished 7, and a G sharp diminished 7. So anytime you need a diminished 7 chord, if you play that shape, any of those notes will be that diminished. So if you wanted an A diminished, you just need to play an A within that shape. There you go, okay? Or there, or there, or there. And again, to find the next one up, you just move it 3 frets. Now, with an augmented chord, it's similar. However, you need to move it up 4 frets. So there's an augmented chord. So we have A, C sharp, and F, or E sharp technically. However, you would play that as just as an F. Now, to find the next augmented chord, you move that up 4 frets. So and that is an easy way to remember how to find an augmented chord and a diminished chord. A good way of remembering it is an augmented chord is 4 frets because you're augmenting the interval, whereas a diminished chord is 3 frets because you've diminished that. So that's how I remember it anyway. And that's how you can easily remember the pattern between those 2 different types of chords. Just another note on that, it's not only on the top 4 strings that theory works, it works across all of the strings. So here is an F diminished 7 chord on the middle 4 strings. Let's move it up 3 frets. Same, move it up 3 frets. And again. So that theory works across all of the strings. So the last little pattern or mnemonic for you to remember is how to quickly find intervals. So every interval, the inverse will always add up to 9. So I'll show you what I mean. So we'll stay in the key of E minor. So we're going to play an E here, and we're going to play a G here. So that is a minor third, that interval. Now, the inverse of that would be the G to the E, which is a major 6. So the 3, add the 6, okay, and it's always minor interval to major interval. It's a minor third to a major 6. If I was to reverse that, then we would look at the G to the E, which will give you the major 6, and then the E to the G, third, and again it adds up to 9. So let's look at a couple more. So let's go from the D to the A, that gives you a 5. We go from the D down to the A, or the A up to the D, should I say, because we're inverting it. That gives you a perfect 4, so 5 add 4 gives you 9. So let's look at another one. So let's look at a second. So let's go from the A to the B. Okay, so that's a second. Let's go from the B to the A. That's a 7, so that gives you 9. Okay, so it always works out that way. Even with diminished intervals, so if we go from the D to the A flat, okay, so there we have a diminished fifth, but from the A flat to the D is an augmented fourth or a diminished fifth. So either way, you add up the 4.5 or reverse that, it's still going to be 4.5, which gives you 9 when you add them together. Okay, so that's a quick way to find what the inverse is of any interval. Just realise that it will add up to 9. So if you do a fourth, the inverse will be a fifth. If you do a third, the inverse will be a sixth. And it's always minor to major or major to minor. Again, if we do the E to a G major, there we've got a major third. But if we do the G sharp to the E, then we've got a minor 6. So again, it's major to minor that time instead of minor to major. So that pretty much sums it up. I hope you got something out of that lesson. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give me a little like, subscribe, and I'll see you later.